Hi, and welcome back to the workbench. I just figured I'd give you an update on what I'm working on currently, and I'll show you some of the things I'm getting in the mailbag to take a look at on the bench. So, first thing I got in was the fans, a 5-pack of APVs. Not great, but they were super cheap, and I came up with a good PWM controller via Arduino that I'll be featuring soon to make this, a solder fume sucker for the workbench. So that will be coming up in an upcoming video fairly soon. I think I've actually worked out all the kinks with the PWM controller, and I've got it working pretty well. I added in all the things on the model I wanted, changed the buttons out, added in a controller port for a potentiometer so that you can control the speed on it dynamically. It's got a battery port there. I do need to figure out what kind of battery pack I want to use in there. It might end up just being a single lithium cell stepped up to 12 volt for the fan, and then just bump the 5 volt incoming over to the Arduino for native control. So I don't need to do any voltage regulation on that, and it should run a little better at its native 5 volts instead of having to step 12 volts down. This I don't know what it is. Let's see. HP security jacket. For the HP 1000. So someone had questions on the HP 1000 and was saying that it wasn't working with their security jacket. So since I know my HP 1000 G2 works okay, I went and bought in a brand new security jacket since they were $10 on eBay. And it should make the HP 1000 useful. I'll do one more video on it quick using the new security jacket, which, let's see if it's got any ports on it. It does. So it's got HDMI out, it's got USB out, it's got a thing for a phone? I don't know what that is. Hopefully this is the right jack and port and whatnot for the HP 1000, and I didn't get the wrong thing, but that's okay either way. It was $10. It'll be neat to play around with. It looks correct, so. And it looks like it actually will work with the little stand I have for it, even when it's in the jack. Even when it's jacked into that case. So that'll be neat. Let's see, this might be a little zoomed in. One moment. There, that's better. And next, let's see what we've got here. Another UPS box, USPS box rather. I think I know what this is, but maybe not. It is the Commodore tape drive. I wanted at least one native way to work with my junked Commodore so I can get it up and running. And I could just use a tape to audio adapter, an Arduino possibly, or just build a device for SD card or whatever. But I wanted at least one normal native way to handle the data on the Commodore 64 I'm working on, so tape drive it is. It was the least expensive option in there, and it looks okay. Hopefully it works. Commodore had an interesting thing where they actually used a data tape. They used a tape as a data source, a digital rather than analog. So it's kind of neat. You can't just use a regular tape player. It doesn't use, as you can see from that obviously, a standard jack on it, though I'm not sure what that is. Hopefully that's one of the standard jacks for the Commodore. I can't remember. It's been ages since I've really messed with those. What else do we have here? These are neat. So these are for handheld console systems. They're EL light back panels. Wait, not EL light. LED lit back panels. And I wanted to see how well they do. I bought a 10-pack of them in. They come with a new screen for the twisted pneumatics. These were specifically for the Game Boy, so if I use them in anything else, I might need to provide a slightly different, a different filter for the screen, but those should be pretty neat. We'll have to see how those do when I actually get some of the Game Boys apart and start putting screens on them. I also found a Sphero. This one wasn't shipped to me. I actually found it locally. trashed, but it charges, or at least it says it does. The charger light comes on and it blinks as if it's charging up the Sphero, and then it comes on solid eventually, but it rattles strangely and it never actually brings up the Bluetooth interface, no matter what you do. So I'm going to do a little more research on this, and what will probably end up happening is that I will end up cracking the case apart. I'm guessing I'm going to have to heat it. Hopefully a little heat will let me crack the glue off it. If not, it might be pressure. I'll have to get the bench vise out and crack it on the sides, and then see if I can carefully split the Sphero apart. This one was a Sphero 1.0. It's the original design, and I don't think it's supported anymore by their software. So I'll have to see if there's any third-party software that'll let me control it. It doesn't really do much, and frankly, I couldn't find anything online when I was looking at the Spheros. There didn't seem to be too much of a community around them, which I was a little surprised by. They do seem the sort of weird robotic gadget that people would hack and use stuff, especially with the prices being so low on them secondhand. And I know what this one is, I think. Oh, yep. I did get in a couple of lead-acid batteries for UPSs. I've got a couple of UPSs I need to replace the battery in. I was going to do a video on that. And one of them doesn't use this size battery, but this was the cheapest battery I could find, with the UPS costing me about $3 and new ones being nominally 20-something, 30-something dollars. I couldn't justify getting a more expensive battery for it. The replacement battery actually cost just about as much as the UPS, so I bought in a 5-hour that's a slightly different size, and I was going to see if I could hack it into accepting that. Mostly that'll just be reconforming the plastic a bit. So maybe not the most exciting thing in the world, but we can take a look at the inside of the electronics of the APC UPS when I get there. And then here's a package from All Electronics. This was actually an order I put in because one of the things I noticed was I was using a lot of 5-volt and 12-volt power supplies, but I didn't actually have any 5-volt and 12 volts, so I noticed they had them inexpensive on the website, and I bought in just a stack of 5-volt and 12-volt power supplies to use for projects. So now I won't have to actually search for a 5-volt or 12-volt power supply. I'll have a few of them sitting by the bench, and I can give them to people or use them for a project, and won't have to constantly hunt for them and then reuse them on other projects and figure out where they're going. I can just let them power things and leave them there. Let's see what we got. They're off Cisco's. Neat. And they're just a standard barrel jack type. I think they're the 2.1s in both cases. 2.1 and 2.5 millimeter barrel jacks, I believe, without looking it up. And they're both good quality supplies. These are ones that came with Comcast gear. They came with Comcast router boxes originally, and they're just secondhand. I guess somebody had a boatload of them extra. And these ones apparently came with Cisco gear. Let me see what... There's also a second package of 12 volts. I wasn't sure which ones would be better. They were about the same price, so I ordered in, I believe, 5 of each. Let me get one of these open. Okay, so these look a little weird. Challenger cable series, switching power supply. They've got UL marking on them. FCC. Yeah, so these should be good, as long as that's valid. Comcast approved power supply. So I'm guessing the folks at All Electronics got a massive order of Comcast equipment and off unused Comcast gear, and that's why we've got lots of Comcast power supplies. So these will be good. It'll save me having to hunt down a working power supply when I'm working at the bench to put on stuff that I'm going to put out somewhere or give to somebody or whatever. And let me see, anything else? And one other interesting thing. I got a used Commodore power supply in. These are, I should have looked it up before I bought it. I still do kind of want it. So it's got a DIN jack for the power on here, and just a power end for 120 US. But these are kind of horrible. They weigh, as you can see there from dropping it, an absolute ton, and the reason is they encased the entire inside of this in epoxy. So that'll probably make an interesting project to try to pop this open, and I'm actually going to try to dissolve the epoxy with something and then possibly reuse the innards. It's not the most efficient supply in the world. It does tend to fail in interesting and horrible ways. So I probably, if I do end up repairing this somehow and reusing it, I probably will have to put an inline system in it just to make sure that the power doesn't get wonky from the supply and take out the Commodore it's plugged into. But it should make a neat project, and we'll be able to take a look at the inside of this at the very least, even if I can't properly repair it. And I'll dissolve I'll show you what's inside here and dissolve it down and see if I can get at the innards to repair them, and we'll take a look at it. It might dissolve some of the actual electronics to taking out the goop in here, but we'll see if I can get that done. And I think that's it. There's not much else in the mail today. That was it for the week. So if you're interested in any of that stuff coming up, just subscribe down below. If you like any of it, give us a thumbs up. Thanks. I'll see you next time.